Hello, Wakefield. Welcome to the Town Council meeting of April 28th, 2025. I call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So welcome to our first meeting of the new session. Our attendance, we have 6 of 7 town councilors here. We have a vacancy. One of our members, Councilor Ed Dombrowski, is no longer a town councilor. He is now our town treasurer. And at our last meeting, I was voted to be the provisional chair, so I'm the provisional chair for today. And we are joined by John Chrisley and Stacy Constance. Welcome.
Thank you.
We're so excited to have both of you join us. We hit the ground running, so please ask questions as need be, and we'll figure it out as we go ahead. But thank you very much. Okay, and with that, public participation. Sherry, is anyone online for public participation?
No, I see no one online.
Great. And so everyone in your materials has a letter from James Sullivan and Leo Cheharan. I don't need to read it, but everyone has those letters in your materials from public participation. Great. Moving on. Oh, anyone in the studio for public participation? No. Okay, great. Moving on. Item number 5A, WCAT Working Group, final report.
Good evening. I'm David Watts, Jr., Chair of the WCAT Working Group, and I'm here this evening in connection with the final report of the group. Since the group's first meeting on December 13th, 2023, and over the course of 10 meetings total, we have looked at the current state of the cable television industry as it relates to WCAT and other area public access organizations, the effects of streaming services, WCAT's current and future operations and needs, and how the town and WCAT can go forward in continuing to provide local media to the benefit of all. Through the hard work and participation of all, we submit this final report for Town Council's consideration and support. I do wish to publicly acknowledge and thank all who volunteered their time and valuable contributions to the work of the whole. Michael McLean, late of Town Council and Council Chair, WCAT Working Group Vice Chair. Stephen Mayo, Town Administrator, WCAT Working Group Secretary. Amy Forsyth, Finance Committee. Kevin Gill, Finance Director, Assistant Town Administrator. Shane McCarthy, Cable Advisory Board member. He was preceded by William Redding, CAB member at that time. Brian McCubry, formerly a member of WCAT Board of Directors. And Paul Norman, WCAT Board of Directors and Treasurer. Also present at all meetings of the WCAT Working Group providing essential operating and organizational information was Ian McDermott, WCAT Executive Director. I invite town councilors to present any comments and questions concerning the WCAT Working Group and this final report. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Any questions or comments about the report? Councillor Tynes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Watts, to you and the committee for working through this. I think, we as a council are so reliant on WCAT and are so grateful for the support they provide us in terms of publicizing our meetings and filming them. And this is certainly a topic that was close to the heart of all of us. Just a comment and a question as I read through the report. First, just from a common standpoint, I think that in general the recommendations that the working group made make a lot of sense. I think particularly delineating sort of the responsibilities that WCAT would take on as sort of part of the town charter and as part of sort of the responsibility of any public access station versus sort of the above and beyond responsibilities. I think that framework makes a lot of sense, and I think it creates an opportunity to look at a way of making this operation financially sustainable as the funding sources change. The one thing I think that needs to be delineated more, and I don't know if this is a process for like a memorandum of understanding that comes out of this report,
Right.
But the specifics around exactly what would be kind of part and parcel of the core mission of WCAT versus sort of what would be kind of a pay-as-you-go set of services for the town or the schools or other entities in town. So I don't know if you're able to speak for that, just either from a specific standpoint or from a process standpoint in terms of what the next steps would be.
I thought we kind of laid that out in detail in the report as to the working framework that could be developed between WCAT as a 501c3 nonprofit organization and the town of Wakefield, which is a governmental body. In essence, WCAT is, for all intents and purposes, not that different from an entity in media like WGBH, which is also a 501c3. They have to raise money from different sources, from sponsors, from some paid production, and so that's kind of what we detailed in the final report as a means for doing it. The problem that presents itself right now from a financial point of view that made the WCAT working group necessary is that income from cable subscribers is falling because streaming services now have taken a lot of those folks away. And it's questionable how much longer there will be streaming services in Wakefield to help finance WCAT. Which is one of the dangers. The streaming bill that has been introduced in 3 sessions of the state legislature has gone nowhere for 6 years. And there is no change in that attitude at this time, unfortunately. A lot of communities are seeing their entities go away. Or, like Gloucester, they're banding together several communities and becoming, a production company as well as a community cable entity. So, in this case, the thinking was that WCAT could survive by actually, working with the town to, if town services are required, then there is a cost to that, whether it's town council meetings or school committee meetings or football, school things, because the entity in the school department that used to produce school-based programming hasn't for a number of years now. They've abandoned that, and WCAT has taken over a lot of those at their expense. So that's kind of where it stands.
Yeah, no, I get that. I guess my question, and maybe Mr. Mullen, this might be a question more for you. I mean, just again, logistically, what are the next steps? Do we have someone on task, whether it's, Mr. Mullen from the town perspective, Mr. McDermott from WCAT, or someone from the board to actually go through that next step of, again, designating out what that memorandum, of understanding looks like, what the fee structure looks like, so that the recommendations that are in the working group document can become something that is enforced.
I can jump in, because
Yeah,
I
please.
think the thought process as we wrapped up the working group, which was made of a lot of different entities, is that this memorandum of understanding, which there are some suggestions in here in the report, that needs to be between the town council and WCAT. So it'll be town council and WCAT boards. So certainly, Tom Mullen will be involved. I'll be involved for a little bit if the council says, let's go forward and put this MOU together, because there was a litany of suggestions in here. But that negotiation, if you want to call it that, is really with the board.
Okay.
WCAT board.
Yeah, the working group doesn't have the authority, nor would it want the authority to go beyond our recommendations. That really has to come to town government at this stage and the WCAT Board of Directors.
No, absolutely, and I think, again, I just want to make sure that if we as a council vote to sort of accept and endorse the report, that we have a concrete next
Right.
step in terms of actually making something happen. But, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Butler?
Thanks. Just a couple of questions. This is all, all the financials are dated as of, it's a fiscal year, so it's year over year. But how much have things changed over the last 10 months? So for example, last year you were down approximately 10% in franchise fees. Are we looking at down another 10%? Because it was up on Comcast, but it was down 30 some odd % on Verizon.
Okay, let me explain something. One of the reasons why I'm chair of this group is that I don't have a foot in either camp. Okay, I'm a media professional, and it was on that basis that I joined the group. I did have a board position at WCAT a long time ago,
Okay.
but that ceased years ago. So anything that happens from this point forward has to be between the town and the board of directors of a 501c3 corporation.
So thank you. It looks like Ian might be able to join and maybe answer some questions, which Ian knows the answer to.
Yep.
So,
So in answer to your question, Councilman Butler, it is roughly 6% year over year that it keeps going down.
Okay.
Now, that does vary. It could go 1 year, I think it was like 3, another year it could be 8. But it's going down at a fairly consistent sub 10.
Yeah, I think the number that shocked me was that the numbers out of Verizon dropped by roughly a third from 2023 to 2024.
Well, the other thing to
Which
keep
it doesn't
in
seem
mind
like they would have had that, they didn't have that sort of churn. So they,
Yeah.
So one of the ways that that's happening is that the cable companies are bringing cable or television
yeah,
to the internet or IP side. And as a result, if you buy a package deal where you get internet and cable, it no longer counts as a cable. So they no longer have to take that as a number in the cable list. So if you get an internet package and, oh, by the way, you get cable, there's some question as to whether that's being counted. So that's why a lot of those numbers just keep going down even forward, faster.
And another consideration is Verizon said not too many years ago that they have a plan to get out of it altogether, which means, at the end of the current contract, they could just say, yeah, we're not going to renegotiate because we're out of that business.
And to illustrate that, it used to be a 10-year contract. The last 2 were 5 years. And the next coming one is potentially some towns have been getting only 3-year contracts. Or they've been getting a 5 with a 3-year out.
what is our option to, I know we have 3 cable services, most towns do not, but like what if Verizon came back and was like, oh, we're done paying these franchise fees? Can we kick them out?
That is a question for your body.
Yeah, so our
Yeah.
body could kick them out and say like, we're just fine, we'll negotiate only with Comcast and everybody's got to switch. Okay. I mean,
Yeah, the bigger question that we really are trying to figure out, because politically the attempt at a streaming bill is running into some very rocky roads, is that every community that is facing this issue, essentially the reason why the cable franchise fees were put in place was to serve as a right-of-way payment.
Yep.
These companies now have the IT or IP portion of this, the internet portion, is still running on those same lines. Nothing has changed, yet they're not paying. So you're effectively getting everything for free.
Yeah, I'm not. I think it sort of feels like it's a failure of negotiation by us then.
Councillor Carney.
It's a question. To the people who have turned off cable and they're streaming now, do they have any access to your programming?
Yes, they do.
They do.
Through YouTube, through Facebook, through any of our online portals that we have on our website. Nobody has ever been kept from being able to watch the material that we put online. Some people have said that a paywall should be put in place to mimic a franchise fee of sorts. That's something that we have not looked at as of yet.
And there may be legal questions to that too, as a 501c3.
That's a potential as well. All of this stuff does have to be looked at this point. Every town's cable system or group town cable system is trying to figure out where we fall, what we can and cannot do.
Yeah, the problem is time is getting very short. Time was very short a few years ago, but it's getting critical now.
Why is
Yeah.
time short?
Well, we are running a budget that is in the red, but the only reason we are a balanced budget is because the employees here do not require health insurance at this time. Should health insurance be required, that will immediately put us in the red by $20,000 to $30,000.
So effectively, you have, based on what you've budgeted for your number of employees, you have a positive variance to your employee costs because
Correct.
it just happens that
Correct.
the staff you have is not taking you up on your offer of health insurance, but
Correct.
obviously that could change at any time.
Yes, that is correct.
So this report was great. Thank you to everyone that worked on it. My one question, so it sounds like, I think we want to go ahead and draft an MOU. My one question, Steve and Tom, there's questions about the space in the new high school.
Right.
And would that be a lease with us, not school committee, right?
Yeah, under the charter, the space belongs to us. The only responsibility of the school committee is janitorial.
Okay. And I'm not up on all of the maps of the high school, but there is space for WCAT in the new high school.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
And
Yep,
great
and that's been
space.
designed with
Perfect,
the
okay.
staff and the board of
Everybody has
WCAT.
done a very good job to accommodate the needs of the station, and we very much appreciate that.
Do we have a timeline of when we think an MOU could be drafted by?
I think I could.
We could move it just
Yeah.
a couple of weeks.
July 3rd?
Before or after?
A couple of weeks we have town meeting, though. I'd say we get it done like a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe a motion to accept the final report and
Yes,
then.
Madam Chair. I'll move to accept the final report as presented with thanks to the working group, and further move to instruct the town administrator to begin drafting the memorandum of understanding as outlined in the document.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Second.
So, yeah, I heard, sorry. Sherry, do you need me to repeat? So Jonathan made the motion and John seconded it. If you can't overhear, just let us know. Okay, and all in favor?
Can I ask one question?
Oh,
We would
yes.
also disband the working group?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so that's
Yes.
just that.
Cool.
Yes.
Perfect, yeah.
So I'll add that
Yeah.
friendly amendment to my motion.
And seconded by John,
Yes.
the friendly amendment, great. All in favor, say aye. Aye, great, okay, 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
so much. Moving on, item 5B, Hemlock Road, Farm Street.
Hi folks, Bill Renaud, Town Engineer. So in your packets you were provided an order of right-of-way layout alteration for Farm Street, as well as a legal description and a plan depicting the proposed alteration. You may recall the intersection realignment of the Farm Street, Hemlock, and Nahant Street intersection, as well as the installation of a new roundabout, was incorporated into the design and budget of the new high school project, based on review and recommendation from the TAC. Tonight, we're here to lay out the alteration to the Farm Street right-of-way to support that new configuration. We are following the same process that we would for an acceptance of a new roadway. So we started this here at the Town Council back in March 10th. Council voted to refer the layout alteration to the Planning Board. I was in front of the Planning Board on April 8th. They voted to provide a positive recommendation to Town Meeting. After that referral, the next step is providing notice of intention for the public way alteration to abutters. We are the abutter, but we took the extra step to notify the folks that are across the street from where we are today. So they've all been provided a hand-delivered notice as required by statute. So basically, if the order is approved tonight by the council, an article will be presented at town meeting. And if approved there, a final instrument will be recorded with a plan at the Registry of Deeds. So I'm here just requesting an approval of the order tonight. And going very brief.
Thank you. It's wonderful. We appreciate it. Any questions or comments? Councilor Constance?
I had a quick question.
Sure.
Have you heard any feedback from those abutters that you delivered, the neighbor abutters?
One call, they were just asked for a little bit more clarification, we let them know in the notice that it was across the street, and my contact info was in it, so we had one person ask.
Councilor Chrisley?
Just one point of clarification, Bill. I understand you're going through the legal process to acquire this parcel.
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to, you envision this is going to be a right-hand turn only lane in front of the roundabout that's a future improvement?
Well, it's a roundabout, so you can only go and take a right turn, right? So
this is this allows for part of the space for the roundabout.
This is actually creating the space for it. So we're
Okay.
carving that off from the high school parcel. That's how it was designed back
Okay.
when we went to town meeting.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Councilor Butler?
No, I think
That answered your
answered my
question?
question.
Okay, I think we have a motion.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Oh, sorry.
Please, Madam Chair, it is a public hearing, so you want to ask if the public has anything to say.
Oh, okay. Does the public have anything to say? Anyone online, Sherry?
No, nobody.
I didn't open it as a,
You know,
Yeah.
we go through this process of opening a public hearing with a roll call vote, and I've never objected, but frankly, we don't have to do that. The chair can simply say, I'm going now into a public hearing.
I appreciate you doing your part to save us time. So that is amazing. Thank you. It only took 8 years for you to say, like, we don't need to do that.
It only took me 30.
That's great. I forgot. I actually didn't think that this was. Okay, so.
Just ask a follow-up question to that. Do we then need to vote to close the public hearing, or could that also be declared? No. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is 20 minutes.
So, record speed.
Madam Chair, in that case, I move to approve the order of right-of-way layout alteration for Farm Street as presented.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 6-0, thank you.
And I have it to be signed? You can pass it around
Perfect,
like
send
it
that
is.
around.
Tom, do you want to do anything on the property?
Sure. Madam Chair, the other item under 5B has to do with a corner of the current high school property, which is going to be given up from its current use as part of the high school property and become instead part of the newly reconfigured public way. And whenever you change the use of any public property, the custodian of that land must first vote to declare it surplus. So part of what you have to do today is to declare the school property that's going to be used in the new roundabout as surplus to the needs of the high school.
To that end, Madam Chair, I move to declare the school property described as Parcel A as surplus to the needs of the high school building.
Second?
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye, 6-0. Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, moving on to 5C, 4th of July events. Do we have anyone from the West Side Social Club online? No?
No.
We'll speed through these then,
I
Madam Chair.
know.
Move to approve the request from the West Side Social Club 4th of July Committee for use of the town common beginning at 6 a.m. on Thursday, July 3rd through 6 a.m. on Saturday, July 5th.
Second?
Any discussion? Steve, have you met with all these groups
We've
like you
met,
normally do?
Twice. I think we have one more public safety meeting coming up. I think it's next week or, yeah, all good.
All great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I got to say, the groups, the West Side Social Club and the Independence Day Committee are working together beautifully this year. So it's really, really good to, it's very nice.
One of the best days in our town every year, so that is great. Thank you. Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded. All in favor? Aye, 6-0. Thank you.
Pending to see if we have anyone from the Independence Day Committee, Madam Chair, move to approve the request from the Independence Day Committee for the 4th of July parade on July 4th, 2025.
Second?
Any discussion? Steve, you've been working with both groups,
Yeah,
right?
we
So-
meet together. Yeah.
And I feel like public safety is a part of that.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like they got all of their signatures, which is great. Any further discussion about the parade? Okay, all in favor? Say aye, and that is 6-0. Thank you. Looking forward to it. I feel like summer is almost here. 5D, outdoor space use.
Yes, Madam Chair, the board may be, council may recall that, post-COVID, we started having, some certain businesses wanted to come to the street and to the sidewalks, to continue their businesses. I think last year we maybe had a couple, but not too many. This year, we're actually starting to get some inquiries again. Most to use the sidewalk. And the practice has been that the council approves this concept, in theory, and then working through my office with DPW, Public Safety, Board of Health, we issue the permits. I just wanted to make sure the council still wanted to do that and to see us go forward with what we have. Mainly, we're seeing sidewalks, not so much in the parking areas right now. And that's probably a good thing, because people seem to be playing very nicely in the sandbox regarding parking.
That's great. I'm glad people are reaching out, and they know to reach out to you. Also, I'm hoping our economic development person is
it
involved
actually
in
comes-
this.
Yes, absolutely.
So it goes
Yeah.
through Erin Kokinda,
Yeah.
so if people have questions, to go to either one. I think it's great. I know some people, it takes more people, more staff to have help outside on the sidewalks, but to keep the sidewalks safe. And I feel like it's nice to be able to eat outdoors. A lot of other towns have parklets, which maybe we'll get to at one point, but I think it's great. And I think it doesn't cost us anything to offer it. And if people weigh into it, it's great. If they want to apply to do it, it's great.
Nor do we charge anything.
Yeah, we don't charge. Any other questions about this? Councillor Tynes?
Just a comment. I love the idea of having this. I mean, I think this, there weren't a lot of great things that came out of COVID, but I do feel that this was one of them. I think it just adds a lot of vibrancy to our downtown areas. It's nice to see people on the street for the businesses where it makes sense to do so. So I'm a big fan of this. I think it's a win-win for our business community, for our town, and for the people that enjoy being outside on beautiful days like today. So
And I'll tell you one group that has reached out already is the Inspired Cafe, and they want to have, tables against the building, kind of on Main and Richardson, right around the
Nice.
corner there. So it'll be fabulous for a cup of coffee, or then the sandwiches and things they have. So, yeah, we wanted to make sure that that was something the council was interested in, and they can get up and running. So.
Great.
do you need a vote from us? Mr.
I
Mayor?
feel comfortable with the consensus on this. It's fine.
Councillor Chrisley?
I just want to ask a history question. Has the council considered the parklets previously? Was that something that came up during COVID? Or shortly
Well,
thereafter?
Yeah, but I don't know, we don't have too many parklets
Yeah.
to consider. I think we
Okay.
need to create them.
Okay, all right.
Not a wonderful, what's parklet?
Small little park. Like in the middle of the downtown, there might be a small little park someday, but not right now.
In a parking spot. And maybe you put giant checkers, or you
Yeah.
put a picnic table. And so, you take up a parking space or two. Or somewhere else you find, I think what we had thought about, and then I think life got busy, but we and when we started the open space plan, we talked about some of the land that we have. I'm thinking up on Prospect Street, we have these lands, and maybe we there are green spaces, and so how do you
Yeah.
make it more into a park instead of just grass and trees?
Right, how do you make it inviting?
Yeah, and welcoming.
used.
Yep,
And
yep. In addition to, I think the other great thing that we've done, and when capital planning was here, is we've in 5 years have kind of worked on a lot of all the school parks and playgrounds, but also our independent ones. We've kind of updated them, and that was something again, making our town more welcoming, making spaces more friendly.
And just to add to that, I think, with the Envision project, I think there's sort of an inclusion of green space in some of the downtown areas that I think fulfills some of that same need. So rather than, I think the approach we've always taken is let's do kind of the Envision project, right? Let's kind of design that in a way where we're expanding the public spaces, adding greenery and so forth, in a more permanent way than maybe sort of a parklet, something that's kind of installed in a parking space or two temporarily might do.
Something to think about, Councillor Butler.
I don't know, I'm like, we've got lots of green spaces near the head of the lake. So,
Yeah, I think it's to think about the entire town.
yeah, no,
Right.
I'm just saying I'm saying that, in that downtown area, you could do lots of those in the areas where not to be, they could be placed alongside or used within the spaces of the memorial and whatnot.
So we don't need a vote, you'll just keep us
I'm happy with
updated.
keeping
And you'll
knowledge
keep us,
about
updated as people apply, that's great. Thank you.
And as always, if there are anybody want that to appeal our decision, they can come to this board, so.
Have we said no?
We have put limitations on spaces,
Okay.
but not right now.
Okay, moving on, item 5E, the contract with Wakefield, Massachusetts Labor District Council, Local
Yes.
272.
I'm happy to announce that the DPW union, these are the DPW workers, the 59 members of the DPW workers and I have, in the negotiations, have reached a agreement for a 1-year deal. I like 3 years deals feel better, but we will be doing a job and classification study in here. And there are some members, I think, that worried about inflation and what's going on, so a 1-year deal was where we ended up. It's very important that we have the deal because we are going out to be bonding for the next round of the high school, and having all of our unions settled at that time is a feather in our cap, and looked upon very kindly by the surveillance people, by the bond rating agencies. Financial aspects of this is the same as every other unit I negotiate with. 2.5% cost of living increase, which ends up being about $95,000 in the DPW budget, about $32 for water and sewer. People are paid under different areas there. Emergency overtime will be double time for our minimum overtime. A $350 uniform allowance with standards to make sure that people are dressed appropriately. Some interesting items is that we increased the probation time for 1 year, which is a long time to be in probation. However, in the DPW world, if we have someone that we hire in March, and let's say that it used to be 6 months, they may have not gone through a plowing, snow season. So increasing that to 1 year does allow us to, look at the entire employee. Couple of other things. Noon on Wednesday will be a time off for this group, as it is for Town Hall, and Christmas Eve is off, as it was already. We are having trouble hiring people, and the big thing was vacation. So vacation will be 3 weeks for years 1 to 5, and then 4 weeks for years 5 to 15. And I'm changing some of the language in the bereavement leave just to talk about what the family is today. You have mixed families now. So I'm very happy with this award. It's actually, the amount is already in the DPW budget, and really, it's pretty benign for the town. So happy to answer any questions.
Any question, Councilor Butler?
Did we add a bunch of steps?
No steps.
Oh, okay. So, there you go. That's easy
That's your
enough.
question, huh? None.
Any other questions?
In that case, Madam Chair, move to approve the contract between the town of Wakefield and the Wakefield, Massachusetts Laborers District Council Local 272 as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Say aye. That's 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have to sign that one?
I think I'll send a DocuSign.
Okay.
Okay, 5F, special town election to fill unexpired town council term through April 2026. So as I mentioned, with Councilor Ed Dombrowski becoming town treasurer, we have a vacancy. It is the prerogative of the board to vote to hold a special election, giving it time, the appropriate amount of weeks. We looked at a calendar and it looks like Tuesday, June 24th works. School will be out then, so the Galvin will be free. I talked to our town clerk and she said that date works for her. So proposing that we hold our special election for the vacant town council seat on Tuesday, June 24th. Councilor Carney.
Just a question for discussion purposes. I can go either way on this, but I hate summer elections. I mean, people going away, they're planning things. What's the penalty of waiting until September? Because that's when our business year starts. And the fact that this was more important for the summer, we don't we limit the amount of business we do. It's something I just thought maybe better, but in fact, going into June, who's going to run? And you're planning all the events for the summer. You might have already planned events where you can't participate. You couldn't run if you want to. I would think if we had an election, say mid-September to late September, that more people would be tracked. School would be back in. People would be back home. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it's a non-state election year, because otherwise there'd already be an election planned for September or November. But there isn't. The next election in our town wouldn't be till next April anyway. I think there's a lot of work that we do, and I think having that seat filled is just better for all of us. But I understand, like, we're all town-wide. I will say when I ran for the first time 9 years ago, the election was in June, and there were 7 of us that ran, so people do run over the summer. And hopefully, you know, the turnout in April wasn't great, so hopefully it'll be great in June. But I think we do it just to have somebody join us as quickly as possible. But I hear your concerns. Any other thoughts, Councilor Butler?
Yeah, I share John's concerns around it's more that we're compressing. Somebody's got to go, people have to figure it out, go out, get signatures, and really start the process. And, you know, maybe 2 months is plenty of time. But it does feel like you're truncating it on an awful lot, especially there will be a few potentially big decisions over the summer. There's potentially this replacement of Steve. I mean, they told us they'll be done by June 30th, so we'll see if that's indeed the case. And that, in that instance, we may want the 7th person on board. But outside of that, I'd also be inclined to wait until September to do it. I don't really feel there's a rush unless, as chair, you feel like we're at risk of, far too many 3-3 decisions, which I don't know. Does tie go to the chair then?
Tie goes
3-3 fails.
to
Oh,
fails.
3-3 fails. Oh, you've got to win.
Yeah.
Councilor Constance?
I feel like we should just name it in June and go forward.
Yeah.
You know, there is always going to be a learning curve, and giving people more time to get up to speed on what they need to do, particularly to me, the issue of the town administrator position is what tips me over to getting somebody in place sooner rather than later. And, you know, it'll tease out who's interested, you know, and
Yeah.
it gives people who, you know, may have been hesitant, this gives them a little push. And if people are away, they can always go down and vote absentee, like they did for the most recent election. So, you know, I hear the argument, but if we're going to hold a special election, to me, let's just go ahead and do it.
Not having school in session is a big deal, right? For the parking and making it easier for the teachers and for the voters. So I feel like we'd really have to look at the calendar to kind of find a Tuesday that the kids are in
Do we have to do it on a Tuesday? Sorry.
I don't think we do. I think it's just.
We can do it on a Saturday.
That's a whole different conversation about voter turnout, right?
We could,
Yeah.
yeah.
Everybody will be away.
In the summer, yeah. Well, June's still not really in the summer.
Councilor Chines.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of things. So this is always a tricky dynamic, right? And I think, we struggled with this the last time we had to do a special election because of the proximity to the actual election date. I think for me, there are two things that are sort of telling for this. One is I'm mindful of the fact that Reading actually did, when they hired their last town administrator, there was a period of time where their select board deadlocked 2-2 on the choice of a town administrator because they didn't have a 5th member. So I do think that there's value in having all 7 seats filled, by July, if that is the timeline in which we'd be talking about a town administrator. I'm hopeful that, we'll have a choice that's clear and will be an overwhelming choice for all of us and will represent a consensus, but obviously that may or may not be the case. And so I think the value of having a 7th person in there becomes important. I think the other reason is, this has just been precedent. Councillor Butt mentioned the special election when, then Councillor Sheeran was elected town clerk. I think in the past, we've always had these sort of, when we've had people move into other roles, we've always had these sort of special elections take place in the late June timeframe. So it does feel like, we've set this expectation over the years. While there are very good arguments to kind of do it at a different point in time, it feels to me that it makes sense to kind of honor that precedent.
Any other thoughts?
I'm swayed. I just want to contest it. I'd like for 2 people to apply, preferably not 0. That would be like,
Just also a question, if we do select, do we know what the signature deadline is? If we do select June 24th as the deadline?
I do
Or the
not.
You know, I
election date?
don't, but Town Clerk Sharon told me that if this passed today, nomination papers are available tomorrow in her office, so I'm sure she's got the timeline. I did not ask.
Got it. And I assume Mr. Mayo will make sure that, you know, all the information will be on the website, including when those papers
Oh, yeah,
will
yeah,
be due.
absolutely.
Okay.
I move that the town election be announced for June 24th.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? 6-0, thank you. Item 5G, Town Administrator Search Committee composition. Sherry, can I ask you, so I saw the posting, people have started applying to be on the search committee. Can you let us know how many people have submitted for their applications thus far?
Yeah, I think we have like 7. I can give you an exact number momentarily.
So we're done.
Well, people, we're accepting them until May 5th, and so I think our hope was then we would make the decision at our next meeting. So, and we'll get them all in our materials before our next meeting. But people have until May 5th.
Yep, so I have a total of 8 right now.
Okay, great. So I think we've kind of punted about I keep on calling it search committee? Yes, the search committee will look like. So let's have a discussion. Counselor Thomas.
I'm happy to get that. So I think, and I know at the last meeting, you know, there was sort of a request that we kind of share our thoughts with Mr. Mayo.
You were very good about that, John.
Thank you. I follow instructions well. I think that there's value as we go through this and having some balance between, both a couple of people that are working in town government, because I do think that there's knowledge, information, context that you have in that setting that's valuable. Obviously, having a strong community presence, but I've said before in other settings, I think also having sort of a peer as part of the screening committee has value. And to me, the most important peer that the town administrator has is the superintendent, given that schools represent more than 60% of the town budget. Our financial success is tied to the schools. I think that's a critical partnership. And so as I think about the composition, we talked about the number being 7 in prior meetings, which I think makes sense. If it were up to me and, kind of the suggestion I'd throw out there would be 4 members of the community, the superintendent of schools, and then 2 town employees, one of whom I do think should be the assistant town administrator for the sake of continuity and for the sake of the experience that he brings to the role. But I throw that out there as sort of a framework to think about. I've kind of gone back and forth of this as we've kind of talked to the search committee, the search firms over the months, and have kind of heard some of the feedback from them. But just an idea that I would throw out there is perhaps something for us to consider.
Any other thoughts?
I'm sorry.
Counselor Carney?
I want to say that whether I'm happy with how we go on this or not, I'm not going to say a word, because the worst thing we can do is look divided in public when we're soliciting people for the biggest job that we've ever been involved in hiring for the town of Wakefield. I worry about the fact that we have a representation that represents all 6 members of this council, okay? And the last one, I believe you all agree, was a very successful selection committee, okay? I was proud to be part of it. We all had our own representative. We picked someone. And the reason I thought that was good is the fact that everybody was comfortable with that process and go through interview. So I'm not suggesting that any one of us could pick the superintendent as one of the members, okay? That's the choice. But if we get to the point where I'm feeling uncomfortable, then I'm going to tell people privately, whether it's a violation or not, or how I feel, because the fact that we should be collectively working to get a 6-0, or obviously after June it'll be a 7-0 vote. Let's get everybody on the same page. And I think that's more important for us to work towards that than to say, okay, I think this is the best thing to do. But if all of a sudden you pick a committee that I feel uncomfortable with, I'm not going to say anything. Because I think it's the worst thing that could happen to the town, is to be part of a situation where you look at it and you're not comfortable with it. So all I'm asking, that's what I would like to do. That's where I'm going to work towards. And the council as a whole can do what they please.
John, is your, when you did this the last time, was it that each counselor could pick anyone? So you could pick a town employee, or you could put a member of the public?
There was no constraint on that at all. And I did speak to a person who was on the Charter Commission, as well as went through the same process in another community, and they had a rule, and I'm not suggesting this. They had a rule if 3 members of the town council, well, actually they used 3 because it was a 5-member. If they objected to someone's, put the name in, you could object, almost like the situation we have with the town administrator. He makes all the appointments, and we don't approve them. We just, if we wanted to, we could say we disagree. I just think I think our whole focus here should be to be on the same page. And by doing that, you're going to get the better candidates, okay? If I was a candidate and I would come for this position, I'd be watching every one of these meetings. And they will be, the kind of the job we're posting here, and what, what's at stake. And for us to come out in a 7-0 vote to appoint someone, that's success. Last time we weren't, believe it or not. It was a 5-2 vote.
Yeah.
Okay? But Steve has won the heart and soul of every admitted councilor since then, and every selectman before that. So I think that's the important goal, is to be together. A strong administrator, and another reason we have to do this is the fact that whoever's filling his shoes gets some big shoes to fill. And as proud as you are of your career and how much you want this job, it's a little intimidating. The record he has created in this community is how do I make it better? How am I going to compete with someone who's done such a great job? You can leave if you don't want to listen. So that's my point. I think we have to be on the same page. But John, you asked a question. If someone wanted to actually put qualifications on it. So tell me I have to pick a town employee. I'll pick a town employee. Okay. If you want to do it that way, so everybody has a feeling that they're comfortable with it. You may be more comfortable with some town employees than I would be, and vice versa. So that's my thoughts.
Yes, Councilor Constance.
I would not have the majority of the committee be from the public. I think some public input is a great idea, and I love that people are stepping forward, and maybe that's an overlapping pool for the people that are going to want to put their hat in for the special election position. But I would limit it to 3, just because I think to have that X factor be the majority number from a head count, I'm not sure I'd be comfortable with that.
But
Yes,
comment.
please.
So this has been one where I've kind of gone back and forth myself, and that was my initial thought as well. Is like if you were going to do the balance of people employed by the town versus the public, that I would have gone in the other direction. The reason why I potentially shaded in that direction, in the direction of 4 community members, is just on the advice of the search firms that we had interviewed. They had talked about the benefit of having additional voices from outside of town hall employees be there. Another way of thinking about it, though, would be you could do 3 community members and then an appointee from, one of the town board, like, you could have the finance committee chair or their designee be, one of those people. So then you have kind of 2 town employee in my framework, which again is this is just an idea to throw out there. 2 town employees, superintendent, FinCom chair or designee or whatever other committee you wanted to do, and then 3 community members. But this is definitely one where I could be convinced in any number of ways, just because it's there are great arguments on both sides for it.
And just to update, the search firm that we signed a contract with has reached out to department chairs and direct reportees and gave them a questionnaire that they're all filling out and responding. And I think they've reached out to all of us to set up, and so I encourage everyone to, I'm hoping you both got an email
Yes.
as well, okay? So I hope you talked to the search firm. John, you didn't get one?
No.
Okay, so Sherry, John didn't get that email from the search firm, so.
Yeah, it did go out to him.
Maybe on your Wakefield email,
It's on the Wakefield email.
like your
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
So the search firm, part of it is that they are going to interview all of us and take the information from the department heads. And then the search committee, once we figure out the makeup of the search committee, we'll meet with the search firm. They're going to post the job, get their resumes, get the applicants, and then hopefully the search committee comes down to like 3 candidates. And then those 3 candidates come to us and we're the ones who make the final decision. And I agree, John, like we do want to be united. We all want to feel comfortable with however the choice is. This, as been pointed out, is one of the biggest decisions we're going to make. I think we started this, and just because the chair, we had members of the board leaving and not coming on, later on, if I am chaired, then I'm going to lead this process as much as I can. And I think to have a point person, obviously can't be Steve, it can't, to work with the search firm and the search committee, like I can commit to that. I've done searches before, so I think we'll have a little bit, it's going to be a little moving a little better than it has now, a little bit. So we'll have answers and we can ask those questions. So just wanted to explain that process to everyone. Councilor Butler.
Sure, I think one of the things that popped up, Councilor Consta said, and one thing that, I think we want to make abundantly clear. I think if you're pulling papers to run for the town council, you don't get to sit on this advisory board. You are not, if you are potentially a town councilor, you do not get to participate in the screening committee. Just in case somebody out there is thinking that that they're going to do both. No, from this one councilor anyway. So I would preclude that you can't do both. You can't be running for town council and also serve on this committee the town councilors are barred from.
I would, my personal opinion, I would second that. I wouldn't vote for appointing anyone to the search committee if they had pulled papers to run for town council. For the same reason that we all decided that we didn't want any current town councilors sitting on the search committee.
So but timing-wise, you can manage that with the way the calendar's going.
I think so. I mean, mind you, if you are on the search committee and you pull papers, we just kick you off the search committee.
Right. Or we say choose.
Well, I mean, that's what we're saying now.
So our next council meeting, so we wouldn't do the appointments until May 19th, which is probably pretty close to the due date for getting signatures submitted.
Yeah, so I think people have common sense around this. Can we sort of, I know we've talked about these, Jonathan mentioned the superintendent, the assistant town administrator, what if they don't want to do it? Do we don't have the ability to compel people to do this.
I think we do for the assistant town administrator.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that would happen.
Okay.
You really couldn't compel the superintendent of
Right.
schools.
But I don't think you'd have to.
do it.
I don't
Yeah.
think you
Yeah,
have to.
exactly.
He owes you.
We could compel the town council to do that.
Well, there's a further concern about my own participation in that. I voiced concerns earlier saying, one, I may have to advise that board, and I've never been on a board that I myself advised. And two, that I always regard myself as reporting to the town administrator, even though it's the town council or in other context, the Board of Selectmen that appoints the town council. Still, the day-to-day contact is always with the town administrator. But beyond that, I'm town council for 6 towns and special counsel for a bunch of others. It occurs to me it's actually kind of not unlikely that one of the town administrators in my other towns will seek the position here in Wakefield. And that would be super awkward for me.
Super.
I believe that was town council's way of saying not it.
Yeah, exactly. I think he made that pretty clear in their last meeting too.
So-
Doubling down on that.
I guess, I don't have any, I think it's either 2 or 3, I think should be sort of town employees, and I agree that it should probably be, I agree with the idea of the assistant town administrator and the school superintendent, and I'm not sure who else, then it's a pick one, or it's pick it from one of the bodies, maybe it's pick it from finance committee, maybe it's, and I don't know if it's the chair or the chair appoints somebody. But if we think of I don't think it should be another elected board. I guess that is the other question. Do we feel like other elected members of the town are eligible to be on this screening committee, or do we think that should you be able to be on school committee and go on the search committee? What do you, this is throwing it out there.
Yeah, I think if you have the superintendent, you don't need the school committee, personally speaking.
Oh, no, I'm just meant,
Yeah,
can
yeah,
a school committee
yeah.
member apply to be on?
So we haven't, sorry.
Go ahead.
We haven't set any limits as to who could apply, so we've created a very open application process. The question is, who do we want to appoint? And
Right.
I think, to me, that if we are kind of taking the approach of voting as a board for appointees, or taking the approach of each of us picking someone, my personal opinion is, would I pick a school committee member knowing that, we've got the schools represented by the superintendent? I probably wouldn't. But again, it's an open application process. We haven't put any limits. We have 8 folks who have applied. We've got another week for people to do so. Whoever chooses to do so is free to apply.
Yes, please.
No, and my last thing, and this gets to Councilor Carney's thoughts around, having, being comfortable, everybody being somewhat comfortable with someone being on. Is this an instance where if we get 10 people that we should do it as sort of ranked choice voting, so that if you give your top person 10 points and then second 9, whatever, it greatly enhances the odds of somebody with 10 points or thereabouts getting onto that board from the public.
Yeah, I was hoping when we get everyone that's applied, then once we get the package before our May 19th, everyone kind of ranks in order, their top whatever the spot is, right, John? I want everyone to feel comfortable with who we get. I don't want you to feel like we're not comfortable, so.
I brought it up from the standpoint that at the last meeting, it was discussed by majority vote, and I think we failed. If 4 members of this council pick the committee and 2 now, and not 3, but 2 are against it, then we've already started on one path. I think we have to collectively be looking trying to get a non-political committee of people to do a job. So it's not someone who is a candidate, who's been a candidate, that that they're going to politicize the process. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of citizens that apply. I hope, I should say, I don't know, but I hope there's going to be a lot of citizens decide where we have people who are neutral. They're not going to run for office next week, a week afterwards, are thinking about running for town council now, as we discussed earlier. I think we get a whole group, and if we can all agree on those, and I have no problem with Doug's, recommendation there. If we do a ranking, 7, best candidates, 7, 6, 5, that could very well result in what we needed. I just want to make it important to say that. I'm saying this to myself. I think we all have to say this, that we're all going to leave that meeting saying we appointed a good committee and we're going forward, or the whole process will end right there.
Councilor Chines?
I mean, I agree with that. I think my hope for this process is, and again, looking beyond just the committee, however we appoint the committee, however we go through the process of then ultimately interviewing candidates, I mean, I want us to get to a place where we will appoint a town administrator on a 7-0 vote. And I don't want us, I don't mean to drag the Reading Select Board and, through this, but I don't think that was a good process because there were so many divisions on the council. And I think when you talk about, the importance of the town administrator being sort of a non-political position, but someone who can do the job effectively, I hope, and this may be a little Pollyanna-ish of me, but I hope and I believe ultimately that I think we're all kind of aligned in terms of finding the right skill set for the person. So totally with you, and I think, it's important for us to have these discussions, and I think it's important for us to kind of suss these things out because they're hard decisions to make. But I agree with you. I think that, however we end up with the process, I'm comfortable with that process moving forward.
So Stacy, do you have a suggestion for the third, if we did the superintendent, the assistant town administrator, and a third?
I would almost
Or
have
4.
this body, so 3 from the public, assistant town administrator, superintendent of schools, that leaves 2 empty chairs. I would almost suggest that this, is the selection of the committee going to be in an executive discussion? No, okay. Maybe each of us brings to the 19th, the meeting on the 19th, a suggestion of a name, and we can have a discussion, because what we don't know right now is we may have commonality on who we have in mind.
Councilor Chines?
So maybe from a process standpoint, maybe it's almost sort of 2 sets of ranked choice voting from the council, one for the candidates from the public who applied for, let's say, 3 open community spots, and then the other one might be for, kind of the 3, or I guess it's the 2 spots. If we say, assistant town administrator is one and superintendent is one, those other 2 spots, which may be town employees or board members, almost kind of coming with a ranking, each of us coming with a ranking for that. Is that process-wise, does that make sense?
That makes sense to me.
I thought your conversations with the recruiters were suggesting having 4 members of the public and 3, having it be primarily majority members of the public versus town employees.
I feel really strongly that should not be the case. And they don't, this is now I'm going to sound Pollyannish. They may not have been familiar with the caliber of town employees that we have. If they are working with towns that, don't really have dedicated or, really invested town employees, then of course they're going to say, go to the general public. I don't feel like that about Wakefield. I think we have some really terrific people who we could, ask to participate and may very much welcome that opportunity. I feel very nervous casting a majority slice to the general public of people that come forward.
I guess I'm a little uncomfortable with us having 3 people who are going to directly report to the hire. Like, I don't know that I want 3 direct reports hiring their boss. I don't mind having, some input, but I don't think that it should be done. Like, if we're saying the school administrator, the school superintendent than the other 3 being town employees who the replacement administrator would be their boss. I just don't think that's.
Well, we're talking about what's under discussion is the extra 2 seats, right? So, and we're not committing to having those 2 people be town employees. You may have people in mind that are not town employees that you feel would be excellent on the search committee. We're not committing to 4 town employees and 3 members of the public.
I think if we have people who we have in mind as potential, like, bringing to the table here, like, we should tell them to apply. They should be part of the application process. It shouldn't be, like, hand-picked by us, these 2 people. Like, I think if they're interested, if they're members of the public and they're interested, they should apply. And if we think we have people who we know who we think we would want to apply, we should tell them to apply.
Can I make a suggestion to try to split the baby here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if for the 2 extra spots, what if it is town employees or members of town boards, commissions, or committees? So in other words, you could say, I think the 2 employee spots should be, the police chief and the library director, or I think it should be the DPW director and the chair of FinCom, or whatever. So it gives us a little bit of flexibility in terms of how we define. I mean, it's kind of like we're sort of picking from people that are sort of in the know in terms of town government and actively engaged. But who those people end up being, I mean, effectively that would kind of come out of how we do the ranked choice voting. Yeah. And again, part of this, the reason I suggest this is I don't have a strong opinion on this either way. Like I said, I started from the standpoint of 3 members of the public, heard something different from the search committee. It's not something that on a 7-member committee, if it were 6 members of the public, that would make me uncomfortable. If it were 6 members who are town employees, that would make me uncomfortable. I think if it's a 4-3 balance on the committee, I don't know that it matters too much from my perspective.
Especially since we're all aligned on 2 of those 4, right? So we're really only talking about 2.
Correct, yeah.
Let me say this, that we're all going to meet with the search committee.
Yeah.
Run your ideas by them. By the time we come back at the next meeting, we'll know who the candidates are and try to take it from there. I mean, some of the people even discussed here, the chairman of the finance committee, he participates all the time. And again, I'm not bringing this up asking them to apply, but Dan Sherman, who's been involved in this town government all the time I've been involved since 2004, people who have an active role and given a lot of time, that they could be, I could consider that. That's all I'm saying. Whether you want to say, we could all say, well, just if they want to, they can apply, but then we might not end up with the mixture we want. Who knows? So for those extra, beyond the superintendent, and I think we all agreed, superintendent and the assistant town administrator. So we need 2 more.
Councillor Chrisley?
So just to clarify what Councillor Chines is saying, the committee would be 3 town employees, 2 members of the general public, and 2 members that could be either the general public or a member of a town board or committee.
No. So it would be.
Yeah. So I think let's, so sorry to cut you off.
Nope, that's okay.
So we've agreed, I think we can say that we definitely want the superintendent on there, and we definitely want the assistant TA on there. So we're all in agreement about that. We are now saying that we want 3 members of the public. So the names that have applied to Sherry, we will get those before our next meeting. And then when we get all those names, each of us is going to rank in order the preference of 3 of them, like our top, I don't know, order is, we'll see what we get, but you put them in order. We're going to do ranked choice voting. Hopefully out of 3, we're going to all be happy with the 3 of them. And now we've got 2 more. And so Jonathan, are you proposing that we wait on those 2 though?
No.
Okay.
So what I would propose is that the pool of individuals from which we would choose those 2 would be existing town employees and/or members of town board commissions and committees. And that each of us would then sort of rank choice our suggestions for those 2 seats independently, send that to Steve so that we have those rankings for the next meeting.
Ready to
So
go for the
effectively, what we would be doing is we would be choosing 3 community members from the ranked choice perspectives of the applicants that we've gotten, plus 2 other members from our rankings of that kind of smaller pool of town employees and board committee and commission members.
How can we possibly rank those without having a list?
So I think the list is, who works for the town today and who's on a board
Right, but we
today.
might all come up.
Well, are you
14
suggesting
different candidates.
that the members of town council put that list together of those 2 candidates and circulate it and submit it in the meeting materials for the next time, so that we're not, hearing each other's ideas for the very first time on the 19th?
Correct. I mean,
Okay.
I would love that to be something that we would have in our packet
Okay.
beforehand.
So we
I agree with
send
that.
who we would think 2 town employees or members of committees or whatever. We send them to Steve, to Sherry, I should say.
So I'm gonna, actually, I think send to me.
Okay, send it to you.
Let's send it to
We'll-
me.
We'll have a list at that final meeting, and then we'd rank them.
Well, I get the list out to everyone.
Yeah.
So everyone gives 2 names. This is complicated, but okay, if everyone feels comfortable. So everyone sends me 2 names. We take all the names. I get it out to everyone before the 19th. And then on the 19th, out of that list of 12 names, we'll pick 2. And we're just assuming that the folks will be willing to serve?
But then you'll also have to send your names to someone else.
No, I think it's fine. There are 10 names. I don't need to add names. I'm happy with the members of the public.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm honestly not to undo it. I'd be happy with 7 members.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I'm squirming here about whether this would violate the open meeting law.
okay.
If outside a meeting, you tell 3 other members, these are the people that I want to consider, that's a violation.
Okay, we don't want a violation.
No.
So can we all send it to
Sherry.
Steve, and then they give us a list before the 19th, or no?
In the meeting materials, so that at least we see it.
Yeah, so I think that's okay. So you send it to Steve. Steve sends out a list that includes everybody's suggestions without attributing them to any particular member of the board.
And then do we send back a ranking to Steve and Sherry?
Why don't you do that at a meeting? Why don't you talk about
Okay,
the list at a meeting?
okay,
So just like you'll get the list of the general public. let's
Yeah.
say, there'll be this secondary list of, employees / committee
So,
members.
if I understand it correctly, say we have 8, right now we have 8 applicants. We're gonna rank 8 to 1, give a ranking, okay? If we have 6, we submit to you at the next meeting, then we rank still 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That, to me, that's fair.
Or you can just do 3 or 4 and just, you do your top 4 and then the other people get 0 points from you.
That's true.
You would just potentially, if we're hiring 3 or 4, you would just rank 4, your top 4 of the 8.
But
'Cause
then,
you
you're,
don't-
but then you're not ranking them all. So therefore, if all of our top 4 is a mixture, then it's not gonna give us a true reading. If your
I guess,
4 is
yeah,
different than
your
my 4.
gap from 8 to 1 might be different. Yeah, we can.
You score them all, and then you know who got the highest score, that's all.
And then question, process again. I actually like how this is, I think it's painful to go through these step by step, but I think we're gonna get to a really good place. And then once we do that ranking, will Sherry then give us back the numbers before the 19th? Again, a one-way communication, so that then on the 19th, when we get here, we don't have to
We know how
do
they
math?
rank, yeah.
Tom didn't think that we should
Yeah.
rank before. We should do that all in the.
I don't
Tom's
think,
feeling uncomfortable.
I think
List and
Tom's,
talk about it.
like, I think as long, it was more the issue of you gathering them
Right.
all up and then
And-
sending
and
it out to us.
sending it to each other,
Like, it's
right.
more us not communicating.
Tom has
Go
something
ahead,
to say.
Okay. All of this I know is well-intentioned, but it sure sounds to the outside like it's an end run around the open meeting law. Why not just send your 2 suggestions each to Steve, have him compile a list of all of the names, send it out to you so that everybody can think about those names in advance of the next meeting, and then talk about them at a meeting. That's the whole idea of the open meeting law. The things don't get done outside the meeting, they get discussed at the meeting in public.
No problem.
That's fine.
Yeah, sounds good.
And so we pick those 2 per council member based on anybody that works for a board, a committee in town government, or a member of the general public.
Well, no, the general of the public, that's that separate pool of 3 that we would pick from the applicants.
Sherry's
that you
managing,
received.
right.
Yep,
Okay.
So we all owe 2 names to Steve.
yes.
Yes.
Oh, Shelley.
I think by the 12th, too.
Okay.
May 12th.
Okay, so
So we
just to
can-
wrap this up, because I feel like we made some progress, which is great, because we've been talking about it for a while. So we all agree the superintendent and the assistant town administrator are on the search committee. So I think, I'm talking to the search committee on Wednesday, so I can mention that, but Sherry, if you talk to them, also mention that they're definitely on. Members of the public, if you're interested in being on the search committee, applications are open until May 5th. So it's on our website, but send your application to Sherry. And then we, as the town council, will send 2 names of people who either serve on a committee/board in town, currently serve on a committee/board, or work for the town. 2 names. We will send them all to Sherry and Steve, each of us. And then at our next meeting after town meeting, our next meeting on May 19th, we will discuss and vote on the 3 members of the public and these 2 additional seats. Sounds good?
Do you want to vote to this effect?
I think I would.
Okay.
As stated.
As
stated.
Jonathan's got it.
All right, so Madam Chair, I move that we establish the composition of the Town Administrator Search Committee as follows. 1, the Assistant Town Administrator. 2, the Superintendent of Schools. 3 members of the public to be selected from the individuals who have applied, who will have applied by May 5th. And 4, from a pool of candidates consisting of board members and town employees, with each town councilor identifying 2 potential candidates.
By May 12th.
Second.
By May 12th.
Motion made by Jonathan, seconded by John. Any further discussion?
I
Does that
just want to
sound
say,
good, Tom? Do you approve?
I do.
I just want to say, I know this was a painful discussion, but these are hard decisions to make, and I think it's productive, and I feel good that we have a path forward in terms of getting this committee structured. So, thank you.
Yes, and it's been a long process, and I do want to echo what John said. I want everyone to feel comfortable with this. We're the ones making this big decision, so I think even trying to get somebody on, in June to help us think about this, like it's an important decision. So I do think it was good in the end. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. That was 6-0, Sherry. Okay, moving on.
Madam Chair, before we move to the next one, sorry, can I just make sure that, I talked to John Petrin today from Paradigm. Please get in contact with him, because this is a great step here tonight, but another big step is actually putting out the advertisement for the actual position. So make sure you do have, you have an email from him. If you don't, check it. If you don't have it, we think everyone has them. Please get in contact with him, because at the 19th, to keep his schedule and to move forward, they'd like to actually start advertising the position and there should be council input for that. That's part of what he wants to meet with everybody with. So I'm sorry to say, but try to prioritize that. Thank you.
Good, I'm noon tomorrow.
That's perfect.
You're right before me.
And since I interrupted you, Madam Chair, if you wish, you can take all items on number 6, according to town council over here, in one vote.
Don't move, your Madam Chairman.
They're all fine. If you can read it and decide what you want to do.
Second the motion to approve the slate of licenses as presented.
Do you need to read them or no? Or
It's
Jonathan, can you just read them?
Yeah.
Sure. So I second Councilor Carney's to approve motion to approve the following licenses: a one-day liquor license for Picasso Art Studio, an event on, sorry,
It's a
when is the
Saturday.
date? Saturday, thank you, which is May 3rd. Second is a one-day liquor license for Hannah's Brewing Company for an event at Wakefield Bowladrome on, sorry, I'm looking for the date, June 28th. The third, a second-hand dealer license for Felino's Barbershop on Main Street. Fourth, the renewal of a second-hand dealer license for Indie Closure on Main Street. And fifth, a pool table license renewal for Lakeside Tavern on North Ave. I'm seconding that motion.
Any discussion, any questions about how licenses are done?
It's the longest second I've ever heard.
Reading
Only
into
thing
the
I can
record.
say is I'd never heard of a pool table license before.
Things you learn. Yeah.
Just a quick question. The second-hand dealer license for Felino's Barbershop, do we know, what is it that they intend to sell?
They're going to be selling some second-hand clothing there in the barber shop
Sneakers.
and sneakers.
Okay.
Okay, we had a motion that's been seconded. All in favor? Say aye. Great, unanimous. Thank you. Number 7, appointments. 7A, Wakefield Housing Authority. We are voting on the tenant representative, a 5-year term. Do we have a motion, Jonathan?
Yes, Madam Chair. Move to appoint Nancy Dillon as the tenant representative for the Wakefield Housing Authority for a 5-year term.
Second.
Great, any discussion? I just want to add that this was the recommendation of the Housing Authority Executive Director, and we thank everyone who, all the volunteers who apply to serve on our boards and committees.
Yeah. As well as the Housing Authority Board Chair, too.
Yes, the board chair as well. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you, unanimous. Appointments, 7B, town warrants. Steve, you want to explain this once again?
Sure. There are, certain jobs that we request of town council members. One of them that's necessary, so these town employees that you may pick to be on the screening committee get paid and will be happy to maybe serve on the committee. And so every week we run a warrant, which is the bills that the town pays. It's not that you have to come in every week. How often do they come in, Sherry, to sign those? Maybe once a month or so?
It's through DocuSign, and it's not even once a month,
Yeah.
so it's once every few months.
Right, so you will actually review them. It's a great way to learn, where things are spent. Counselors have reviewed them. Counselors have come in and talked with accounting to go over, to talk to my office if they have any questions. So this was filled by Counselor Vincent. I think we'll be doing appointments of other things, and the chair will probably appoint liaisons at some meeting in the future. But we need this done now because we do have payrolls going out in the next few weeks. So we do need, hopefully, someone to step up.
I'd volunteer, Madam Chair, if you want.
That's great.
Perfect.
That's great. Thank you, Councilor Carney.
Doesn't look
Okay.
like anyone wants to fight you for
volunteer
that.
Councilor McCarney as well.
So as Steve mentioned, we do have liaisons. We have some liaison and committees where we're voting members, and then some where we just report back. So because we have a lot of vacancies and you two are filling in, I'm asking everyone just to kind of write me an email or let me know which ones you would like to serve on. For the current people, let me know what you'd like to continue, and if there's something new that you would like to be the liaison to, please just let me know, and we'll try to get everyone either staying where they want to stay or getting some new experiences. We have some vacancies. We have some that we have to fill because they're voting members. So just let me know. I know Councilor Chrisley has already let me know, but anyone else, let me know. And then I think at our next meeting, we'll just kind of assign people to their liaisons or their committees.
Madam Chair, I would expect, which I wasn't aware of when they did the appointments last year, to outline which ones you are a voting member on and the issues that are involved about that.
Yeah.
I was, quite frankly, I worked with the Sustainability Committee, and I chose not to go to the meetings, but I always told the chair, look, if it's urgent, I'll go. And it worked out kind of well because I think we already had a discussion about this in general, in the sense that how do you go to a meeting like that and vote for or against something, then come up and truly debate with the council and decide you're going to change your vote. So it made it difficult. They have not, quite frankly, they didn't miss any meetings because of a shortage of a quorum. And I've discussed with the chairperson relative to whether they wanted to change that or not. You know, it really never came up for discussion. But there are committees where you are a voting member. And I have never got sworn in because I never went to a meeting. But if you're on that committee, you're a voting member, you have to get sworn in twice. You have to go back down to Betsy, get sworn in a second time because you are a voting member. I chose just not to go and not to vote. So I think that's important for the new members to know that.
I really appreciate that. We spent a lot of time talking about that. Sherry, would you mind sending us all the list of, I think it's like 3 or 4 where it's voting members. Would you mind just sending that to all of us? It's a good reminder. I know it's kind of the housing ones and environmental sustainability. I feel like there's one other one that I'm forgetting. If you wouldn't mind sending that. And so Councilor Carney is right. If you are a voting member, there's different expectations. You have to get sworn in, but you also go there and vote. And so you need to be a member to be, you need to be present if they need quorum. So there's a little more of an expectation. A lot of the liaisons, there's nothing formal. So you're kind of the liaison between the committee or in the board and us. We usually do report backs. We used to do them a little bit more often than we did last year, so I'm hoping to bring that back because I think it's just good to hear what the big issues are. So for school committee or the school building committee like Jonathan did, or I don't know, all the other committees that we have a lot of liaisons. So that's kind of the expectation, but some do, if you're a voting member, there's a lot more work involved.
And so Sherry, will the list indicate who's currently serving as liaison? You know, is it a complete list so that, you know, I'm not raising my hand for something that is just not necessary? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I'll have to, you know, I'll have to do the list so I can include whatever information, you know, you guys want, so that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And if we want off committees, we can.
Let me
tell you as
know.
well.
Yeah, I mean, I will probably change it up as well. So I think I wouldn't,
Okay.
yes, I think if you want off committees or you're willing to explore something new, let me know. And also if you're willing to pass something off, but let me know as well.
And I would also say for kind of the new member, I mean, even if someone is already doing it for that reason, if there's something you're interested in, you know, express an interest, because it's a little bit of a puzzle putting it all together. And, you know, they do switch up a little bit here and there, you know, kind of year to year. So even if it's, you know, if it's something I'm assigned to, but you have a burning interest in doing it, you know, raise your hand for it.
I'm not giving up, Council of Adrian.
I'm not going to put my hand up for it.
Okay, thank you for that. So moving on to approval of minutes.
Madam Chair, move to approve the Town Council Executive Meeting minutes for April 14th, 2025.
Second.
Seconded, thank you. Any discussion?
It's just us 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So all in favor? That's 4, no opposition, and I guess two abstentions.
Yep.
Yeah, 2 abstentions. Thank you.
Madam Chair, move to approve the Town Council meeting minutes of April 14, 2025.
Second.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Assuming no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0, all noes, abstentions? 2 abstentions.
We abstain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you abstain, you can't speak for Joe.
Sorry. Those who were not present as counselors at that meeting.
That was a mandatory abstention, I understand?
Item 10, any announcements?
Do you want to do reorganization?
Yeah,
first?
reorg.
Oh, I skipped over that. Reorganization.
Madam Provisional Chair, I move to nominate you, Councillor Butt, as Chair for 2025-2026.
Second motion.
And I accept the nomination. Do I call the vote? This is weird.
Is this a roll call?
Is this, do I?
Normally ask, are there any other nominations?
Oh, sorry. Are there any other nominations?
And then you hurriedly go.
I'm like, you kick people under the table? Okay.
It takes a step backwards and says,
Okay. Thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I move that Jonathan Chines be Vice Chair.
And I second that nomination. Any other nominations for Vice Chair? Okay, all in favor of Jonathan Chines being Vice Chair? Great, 6-0. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 10, announcements. Councilor Carney.
I have a special announcement. Wanted the council to hear directly from me. I've been working on a committee with Gene Mayo and a group of town employees to have a event June 1st, Sunday, at the Americal Civic Center to celebrate the career of Steve Mayo. We are inviting all of the town committees and both private and publicly appointed to kind of exhibit what Steve has meant to them. And we're going to have participation by the choral group at the high school and participation. Obviously, Dr. Mayo, Mr. Mayo will be there, the family will be there, and we'll have Inspire doing the pastries and cookies and coffee for people. And we'll have a short presentation. Very few people speaking, but the chair is invited to, obviously the chair of the council will be invited to speak. And which we short ceremony and enjoy the afternoon and have people come in and celebrate Steve's career. And it's publicly orientated, and I believe this is the wish of the family.
I was going to say, we confirm that Steve's coming?
that's negotiable. Can we apply for a one-day liquor license?
Yeah, no liquor. No liquor.
That's great, and they'll.
I mean, it's great that I'm having a party without liquor.
As someone who doesn't drink, I think it's great.
It's unprecedented.
That is wonderful. We will all add that to our calendars, June 1st. Any other announcements? Councilor Chines?
Just a couple of things. First of all, a big thank you to the town clerk and her staff, the Wakefield Police Department, the DPW, and the schools for hosting last week's election. It's always tricky. It was not a high turnout election, which is frustrating. Certainly the timing probably didn't help, but that notwithstanding, it is an amazing amount of work to kind of pull that together. And so just wanted to thank them for their efforts and thank them for the great job that they do. And the job isn't done since town meeting is Monday, so thank you in advance to them, to the town moderator, and everyone for pulling that off. A couple of other things to mention. For folks in the community looking for assistance, we have a couple of drop-in opportunities to meet with folks in town that might be able to help you. We will have fuel assistance drop-in hours at the senior center on Wednesday. That's from 9:30 to 11:30, again at the Senior Center. Also on Wednesday, our Community Resource Navigator, Sandra Sigenza-Hatchie, who works with a number of individuals in town and can help connect people to nutrition resources, housing resources, healthcare resources, and so forth. She will also have open office hours at the library from 9:15 to 12. So, we're fortunate to have so many opportunities in town to connect people with the support that they need. If you find yourself, or if you know one of your neighbors are in that situation, please let them know to drop by and ask for help. And then finally, just wanted to mention Green May Day is coming up this Saturday. That's a cleanup around the Galvin from 10 to 1:30. Thanks to the Galvin, the Wake Up not the Wake Up Warriors crew, the Warrior Cleanup crew, as well as the Environmental Sustainability. So please sign up to join that if you have some free time.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other announcements?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'd just like to briefly address a letter to the editor that appeared in the item today. Some of you may be concerned about it. There were, you will remember, at a previous town meeting, 2 articles to approve the sale of marijuana in Wakefield. One was a zoning article and one was a non-zoning bylaw, and they failed. This year, there were petition articles submitted to put those questions back on the ballot. I'm sorry, on the warrant. The lawyer for the petitioner, Mike McCarthy, became concerned about the legality, among other things, of the matter going before town meeting again, in part because of the similarity between this set of articles and the previous unsuccessful set, and in part because of the a legal question, which is very much debated among municipal lawyers about exactly what kind of vote it takes from the planning board in order to get a previously defeated zoning article considered at a subsequent town meeting. Anyway, I know I'm getting deep into the weeds, but suffice it to say, he asked if it was possible to withdraw the articles, and the short answer is the statutes don't say. They say that if you get 10 signatures on a petition to put an article on the annual town meeting warrant, the Board of Selectmen, or in this case Town Council, have to put it on, but there's nothing in the statutes about whether or how to remove articles if the petitioners decide that they don't want to proceed. I suggested that we probably could take the position that if all of the people who signed the initial petition signed a new petition asking that the matter come off the warrant or not be submitted to the warrant, that we could regard the initial petition as a nullity. And that's what they did. It just seemed to me that if the petitioners no longer wanted their petition articles on the warrant, then I don't know who would be hurt by not including them in the warrant. But one author of a letter today was upset about it, and I think mistakenly believed that your board had accepted those articles for inclusion in the warrant. That isn't true. What you had done is, because one of them was a zoning article, you had, as a matter of course, forwarded it to the planning board. And the planning board did not, in fact, hold a public hearing on it because the articles were withdrawn in time. So nobody invested any time in this. No board approved these articles. And there being nobody who wanted the articles on the warrant, they're not there.
Thank you for explaining that. Any questions? Just two updates from me. One, the Human Rights Commission is having their Asian Art and Food Truck Festival on May 18th from 12 to 2 at the AmeriCal Civic Center. They've got a bunch of food trucks coming and local food, boba tea and snow ice restaurants in town. It's going to be an amazing event, so add it to your calendar. And then just a reminder, as Councilor Chines mentioned, town meeting is Monday night. We hope to see a lot of people. Hopefully, we're hopeful it'll be not too many nights.
Not too
Can
many
we say
nights.
that?
Sounds good.
And also, thank you to the Boys and Girls Club, who again is offering childcare. There's more information on the website, but reserve a spot if you want to bring your children and have them be watched while you attend town meeting. It starts at 7 at the Galvin Middle School. Steve, do you have any updates?
I'm good, thank you.
Sherry?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, and then I'm just going to take chair prerogative and thank all of you for voting me in as chair. I also, one chair prerogative that I will do is that we used to do retreats with the council and talk about priorities and what we hoped about the year. And so I'm going to try to schedule that with Sherry's help to come up soon. I think it was a good opportunity for all just to get to know each other now that we have 2 new council members, and also talk about how we want to proceed. As I mentioned to some of you, I hope to keep meetings shorter than they have been in the past, and I think I'm on track to getting us out in under 2 hours, which is great. So stay tuned and look out for your email for that. Okay, any matters not anticipated for agenda? No, and then do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Oh, this is great. Good job.
Thank
Good
you.
job.